Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today on the Divine Messages podcast. My name is Karina, and I am a psychic medium out of Calgary, Alberta. So, welcome to part two of the interview with my student, Mark. He's back on here today, and we are going to dive right into everything there has to do about mediumship. Mark, are you ready to do this again?
Oh my God, yes, I'm so ready to do this again. I'm excited to hear what you have to say about mediumship and your journeys and your travels, how you got there, and what it means to you and how it helps people heal in today's world.
Okay, well, let's go. Ask away.
Okay.
What would you like to know about mediumship?
Well, my first question for you is, in your opinion, what is mediumship and what is its purpose in this world?
Mediumship to me is connecting to the other realm. So there's a whole other side. They exist somewhere else. I know everybody thinks that, when you die, that's it, you're put to rest and you don't exist anymore, but that's not the truth. They are very much alive in a different way. So mediumship is so like someone like me is a medium in between the worlds. So I can connect to the other side and communicate with them. That's mediumship.
Wow, that's okay. That's mediumship. And what
Yep.
uh what's the difference between a psychic and a medium?
There's actually quite a big difference. So, psychic work is connecting to your spirit guides, the other person's spirit guides, and it's quite, I don't want to say easy, but it's easier because you come into the world with spirit guides and guardian angels. And so you connect to them where they give you that gut feeling, your intuition, right? So that's, if you almost want to think of it like two different channels. Psychic channel is like one, like on a little radio station, those old ones that you would tune, right? And mediumship
Uh,
is a whole other channel. So for mediumship, you have to almost raise your vibrational level, and spirits have to lower their vibrational level, and we meet in the middle in between worlds. And that's how I can hear them. Now, every medium is a psychic, but not every psychic is a medium. So again, there's a lot of psychics that I know that are incredible. They can look into your past and see things that need to be healed. They can look into the future and give you incredible advice and guidance, but they can't always tune into spirits because it is a different frequency. But all mediums can tap into both radio stations, if you want to call it that, because we're already in that one channel that's a little bit easier, right? That's our intuitive side. And then we just kind of have that ability to tap into the other channel where all the spirits, we meet them and we communicate. Does that make sense?
yes, it does. It certainly does. Is being a medium something you're born with?
I want to say yes. We can all do this. It's not like we can't, but some are meant to do this for their purpose. So we all have intuition, we all have that sixth sense, but not everybody uses it or uses it for their life purpose. So let's just say, for example, you came into the world and you're meant to be a teacher, right? So you go to school to become a teacher and you work with young kids. That's your life purpose. So there's others that come into the world as mediums. That's their life purpose. I came into the world being able to do this because this is what my purpose is.
How do you know it's your purpose?
Well, that is a very good question. I did not know that it was my purpose. If someone would have told me 15 years ago, hey, Karina, you're going to be, talking to dead people and you're going to be doing these big group readings and you're going to be helping people all over the world by talking to the other side, I would have told them that they were crazy. There's no way. I was a retail manager for many years. I loved what I did. And then I had my kids and I thought I was really going to go back to retail because I really enjoyed it, to be honest. But the purpose came without trying to find the purpose. It just happened and it happened organically. Everything lined up just like we had talked about in the last episode. It was all the synchronicities were there. Everything just one after another happen. And I opened up, and that was the purpose. I didn't have to seek it.
Wow. What would you say to someone who doesn't know what their purpose is and are having a hard time finding it?
I would say not to look for it, not to try to find the purpose. I think if people start wondering or questioning their life purpose, that can be a sign of not trusting the universe to show it to you. You don't have to go finding it, it finds you. And so I would tell everybody just to relax, just be you, follow the path ahead, just one day at a time. You don't have to have all of those answers or puzzle pieces. And I think most people worry, like, what if I came here and there is no big purpose for me? But the air that you breathe, the person that you are, is enough. It's all about finding yourself, of how to love yourself. And by loving yourself, you in turn love the world. And that is the energy that you're exuding. And that's enough. That is a purpose in itself sometimes.
Oh my God, I just got goosebumps all over me listening to that answer. Holy cow. That was incredible. I'm lost for words, and I'm hardly ever lost for words. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're
Oh,
welcome, Mark.
let's debunk some of the misconceptions about mediumship. So a lot of people look at mediums in a different scope, in a different lens, and some people believe, some people don't believe. But what would you figure are the most common misconceptions that you would like to address?
Hmm. I guess I would say that people really think that it's fabricated, that psychics and mediums are liars, or they're making it up, or they're doing what people consider to be called cold reading. So a cold reading is when someone is picking up the cues of the other person, the sitter, and playing on that. And if you actually go to a good medium and a good psychic, they won't even really look at you while they're reading because they're channeling something that's coming to them. So I think a lot of people feel that it's made up, or we're just guessing, or we're trying to, I don't know, use people or manipulate them in some ways. I think that's a big deal because we're just there to channel people's loved ones and help them live their best life. And I think a lot of the times we can be accused of trying to make things up or manipulate people and use them for money or something. I think that's the biggest one, really.
You kind of dove into my head with that portion of your answer, because my next question would have been sort of, I guess the difference between an authentic medium is someone who is out there doing it for the greater good versus doing it for money.
Mm-hmm. There's something I learned many, many years ago, and it was actually John Edward, the medium in New York. He used to have a show called Crossing Over with John Edward, and I've read so many of his books in the beginning of my journey. And one of the things that he really talked about, and I can't remember which book it was, but he had said, if you do this work for money, spirit will know and they will shut you down. And in one of his books, he had actually written that he was so excited that he had so many clients booked, and he was starting to plan out his bills that he was going to pay, what he was going to do with the money. And he had said that every single client had canceled on him that week. And it was a lesson. Yeah, it was a really, really big lesson for him because he said, whoa, I was getting carried away counting on the money rather than doing this work from the greatest and highest of good from my soul. And so he got shut down. So I think that sometimes there are people, and I've actually witnessed it, where people do manipulate with their powers for money, or they're trying to prove something to people, or using the power really in, or the gift or the ability, however you want to say it, in the wrong way. And I feel like good mediums do this work because they want to help people live their best lives and they don't want anyone to ever hurt. And that is someone who's authentic. If they're doing it from their soul, from their heart, and they're doing it because they have love for humankind, that is an authentic medium. Now, there's some that, again, are using their abilities in the wrong way and they get carried away with greed, power, ego, and spirit knows that, right? And some of them get shut down and some don't. There's lessons that they have to learn on this earth. But I always say to all of the students, like, if you do this with love and you do it from your soul, and if you're still caring that you really want this world to be a better place, spirit will always bring you the people that you need.
Wow. Did you have to learn that the hard way?
About the money and the greed?
Yeah, just all of that coming from a good place, and because we're all human still, like you've said before.
Right.
And when we start thinking about money and our bills and caring for our children and wanting to give them the best that we can, we can all fall into the materialistic portion of this life, especially giving back to our children.
Right.
And because I always want to give them everything that I can, and that
Mm-hmm.
costs.
Mm-hmm.
It costs money, right? So I do get caught up in thinking about money once in a while and so on and so forth, and I don't just let it let spirit sort of take its show me the course where I should be, and just leave it with them, and
Right.
understand that hard work and drive and passion for something will get you there. But we all fall and think about that. Have you ever had that moment in your life where you had to kind of reel it back in?
Oh gosh, I'm sure I've thought about money along the way. But when I actually started doing this work, that was when we were almost bankrupt. And so I didn't go into it, honest to God, Mark, I did not go into it saying, oh, I'm going to make money at this and I'm going to make a fortune. I went into this because it saved me. I was at the worst, lowest time in my life, and spirit just kept bringing me people like, can you work on this one? And can you work on this one? And I was so fulfilled, and I got so much out of that feeling of healing and helping others that the money was the afterthought. It would be like, wow, I just got, $40 for a reading and I'm going to go and thank goodness, thank God, buy groceries for the kids. Yes, that thought came in after, but in the moment, no. I mean, I went into this like, how can I help people? I want to just save people the way that my Reiki master saved me. And so I can't say that I've never thought about money. I mean, of course, we're all human, but never to the degree that I was going to use this money with greed. Like, I'm going to get rich off this. I'm going to make this kind of money. And it wasn't about that. That part of it's still icky to me. When people even put money down for me after, I'm like, oh, I do accept it as a gift and I thank the universe because I know it is just an energy, but it's never been about that. It's always been, the person that when I see people that come to me, and I've had some that come to me where they are on death's doorstep and they walk out saying that they're going to fight back and still be here and want to live again. No money can touch that. Money is just a damn piece of paper, you know?
And I've known you for the better part of a year now, and
Mm-hmm.
I know hands down you are so authentic when it comes to this, and it has nothing to do with finances. So I'm glad you were able to touch on that. That's really incredible. I just know who you are and how selfless you are. So
Well,
kudos to
thank
you.
you.
That's wonderful.
I
That's
sure
wonderful.
try.
Moving on to another question for you. How do you handle skepticism from friends and family who doubt you and your abilities of mediumship?
Well, that's a tough one. Over the years, I've struggled with that many times with many different people, especially the ones that I was the closest to, or I am the closest to. And I guess I've had so many of them really just kind of look at me like that you've always been Karina. How can you do this now? Like, what makes you be able to do this right now? I think that I just had to really continue to be authentic and stand in my truth. And if they wanted to believe what I did or not, I couldn't let their opinions veer me off my path because I knew within every ounce of my soul that this is who I was and this is what I was meant to do. And if they didn't understand it or believe it, it wasn't for them to understand or believe. It didn't matter if that makes sense. Like I love them and I will continue to love them, but I don't need their approval in order to keep going. Because if I sat around waiting for that, I'm never going to get it. And I'm going to not do this work. And then that's going to be a waste of energy and a waste of my time when I've got work to do. I've got to keep going forward at all times.
And a loss of helping people to add to that, right? Like, my
Mm-hmm.
goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever lost any friends because of it?
Oh, yeah. I lost a lot of people actually in the beginning. Sadly, I lost, the whole mom group that I hung out with when I first opened up. I lost some really good friends that were like family to me as well. I think they thought that I was weird. One of my really good friends had come to me and said, Karina, I love you, but what I think you're doing is wrong. And it was like a sucker punch to the stomach because I sat there thinking, wow, I can't believe that someone could say something like that to me without even giving me the benefit of the doubt. It was instant judgment. And I sat back thinking, but I'm not judging your beliefs. How can you put that on me? That I just felt it was quite unfair. And I didn't really allow her to strip me though, because I was like, I came here with a mission. I've got to fulfill that. You want to come along for the ride? Come with me, join me, because it's amazing. And if you don't, I'm okay with that. I had to be okay with losing people because when you're not vibrating at the same level, spirit will move them out of the way. And that's pretty much what happened. I lost a lot of people and it hurt. It really hurt. I can't say that it didn't, but then I was gifted with the most incredible people like all of you students and clients that are amazing that have become friends. So I'm really grateful that I did meet all these wonderful souls that have come into my life, but it still hurt losing the people. I can't say that it didn't.
Of course.
And I think I was just so excited in the beginning that I had found my purpose and I wanted to help the world 1% at a time. And for people to not understand that, it hurt for sure.
Of course it would. But yeah, the more that I dive into this and the more I think about it, losing friends and how people judge you for doing your work. And I think for me, when I hear that, the the challenge I have and the questions that I have for them would be knowing that you do your work from a place of pure love and
Mm-hmm.
kindness to help others find their path, or even just their joy, in this world again.
Yeah.
I challenge anybody to tell me how that is wrong.
Okay. So, Mark, I'm going to say it like this. And what you just said is so true. I say this to people all the time. If helping others is wrong, I'm going to be damn wrong. I'm going to be wrong. I don't care because two people that really stand out in my mind right now is one was like a she was like a mom to me when I was growing up, and she had told her daughter to stay far away from me because I was doing witchcraft, black magic, and what I was doing was evil and wrong. Now, another one, who was a really good friend to me for many years, had come to me and told me that through her beliefs and her religion, that I was dealing with the dark side and that what I was doing was evil and wrong, and I had to be careful and all of these things. And I thought, wow, I will say it again over and over and over. God wouldn't make us healers to help somebody if they were trying to steal their soul. And so I don't understand how people's fears, well, I mean, I can understand how people's fears are so strong, but it's really mind blowing in a sense that that's where their thoughts go is instant fear. Oh my God, this is bad. This is evil. This is wrong. But how can helping someone who's about to end their life and they come in to see you for one session and they walk out of there willing to fight again and live their best damn life, how can that be wrong? And if that's what people consider wrong, then I'm going to be wrong and I'm going to keep doing it
I'll
because,
be I'll I'll be wrong right alongside you.
well, right? Like, come on. If if helping someone live their best life is wrong, okay,
Then let's
okay,
be wrong together.
all
Absolutely.
right.
I agree with you on that for
it's
sure. Moving on to another question for you. Can you explain the role of spirit guides in mediumship and how you connect with them?
How do I connect with spirit?
How do you connect with spirit?
That's a good question, Mark. I suppose have always been able to see them, right? Like that's something that I've been able to do since I was a very young girl. Actually, I think I was about 8 that I can remember, 8 or 9. And at first, the communication was me just seeing people sitting, in a chair in my room. They were standing at the end of my bed. That to me was communication because I could see them. It was so freaky. And then I, of course, pushed that away for many, many years. And when I first opened up as a Reiki practitioner and my third eye opened, the communication became quite simple, really. And I'm going to try to explain this as best as I can, but I could hear them loud and clear. I could see them. And when I say see them, I used to see them, like, again, sitting in a chair in front of me when I'd walk in the room. And I'm like, stop doing that. You're freaking me out. And if you want me to do this work, do not come in physical form anymore because you're freaking me out. So I told them that they could only come in my mind's eye. And what I mean by that is picture daydreaming, right? Or you're reading a book and you see the character in your mind, so clear as day, right? That's how I see spirit in my mind's eye only. So when it's time for me to do a reading, I basically just say, okay, I'm ready. The person's showing up at 1 o'clock. So now's your time. I have 60 minutes. And I just basically open up and the client sits down and I tell them a little bit about the reading and how it's going to go. And I just open up and I hear them or see them right away. Easy. I don't know how to explain it. It's easy to me.
Wow, that's okay. So earlier in the interview here, you had mentioned about us raising our vibration and spirit lowering their vibration so we can meet and have the messages go back and forth or connect or however you want to explain that. How do you raise your vibration so quickly?
Ooh, someone asked me that when I first started doing mediumship. It was a couple that came to me and they were just there to see what this was all about. And it was sort of like practice for me. And I'm going to tell you this story because I found it fascinating. They sat down in my room and the two of them crossed their legs in like almost like a yoga pose and they started to like meditate. And I'm thinking, I don't know what these people are doing. I'm ready to go. I don't know what's happening. So I bluntly said, hey, I have your father here who's passed. And I started to describe him. And they opened up their eyes, and it was the guy's father. And he looked at me and he goes, how did you do that? And I said, what are you talking about? And he's like, how did you go from here to there so fast? And I said, geez, I don't know. I just said, I'm here to see who's here for them. And this is what happened. So I don't even know if I can answer that. For me, it's just second nature. I just tap in and there they are. I don't have to try to get there or um, have a specific ritual to get there. I just say I'm ready and they show up.
Would you say that that is because of how much love you have for the world that you're able to do that? Because all of this usually comes from a place of love, right? To like raise your
Mm-hmm.
vibrations, gratitude, just all the joy, peace, happiness, all the fun things that we all preach that we should all be at. Is that something you would say that you're in that zone all the time?
No, because I'm like just human too, right? I go through my days where I'm crying or I'm frustrated. I would think that it was more just my purpose. I came in with a purpose. This is who I'm supposed to be. So I find that it comes easily because of that, because this is what I'm meant to do. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Absolutely. 100% it makes sense. Again, we all have our own purpose in life, right? So
We
this is
do.
yours and this is why it's easy for you, I would imagine. So it makes total sense to me. It's like the great hockey player who steps on the ice and just has natural ability. Right, the
Well,
natural ability to play hockey, or the
true.
mathematician that has natural ability to do his math, or the piano player that is born at 1.5 years old and starts playing the piano better than I could ever dream of doing, right?
Right.
Natural abilities.
And the thing is, like, if it was a vibration and I had to walk around in that high vibration all day, every day, that's not realistic. I cry, I get frustrated, I get angry, just like everybody else. So the way that I have to clear that in order to do my job is I could be having the worst day. Okay. So let's just say I woke up, all these things went wrong, things going on in our family, and I've had a terrible day. Well, I've got three people lined up to work with that afternoon. I don't have time to sit in that energy. I have to push that energy aside, go into my channel and do my job. And then all of that stuff can come back later. But I wouldn't be able to walk around always like happy and peaceful and stuff. That's just not realistic. That's not life, right? But to do this work, you can have those human emotions, but you can still channel and be that channel of light and love easily. It's just you have to move your stuff aside.
That's such a great answer. I think I even needed to hear that. Well done. Good for you.
The truth, yeah.
Um, do you continue to develop and hone your mediumship skills?
I suppose we're always all learning, right? Like, I have really strong abilities in some ways, but there's other ways that I would like to get stronger in other aspects. So I would say we're always learning. I definitely don't have all the answers. For me, I think we're all going to be learning right till the day we go. Really. I think I'm always just working so much that the practice in itself is doing the work over and over and over so that I keep trusting what I'm
It's
getting.
great
Mhm.
answer. So your honing and development of your skills comes with your clientele on a daily basis.
Every single day and for the last 10 years or 11 years. Yeah, for sure.
So humble. Well done. Oh my God. Okay. Have you had any scary situations with spirit that made you not want to continue as a medium?
Yes, yes, and yes. Do you want me to sit here for 3 hours? Because I could.
Oh,
Just
let,
kidding, but I have a
let
lot.
let's see if you can share one example of that where you were like, oh boy, I know, don't like
Yeah.
this at all.
Okay. So when I tell you this story, or I share this story with everyone really now, I don't want anyone to ever be afraid, or this is not to instill fear in anybody. And you've got to remember that the work that I do is intense, and I have a very special relationship with the other side and spirit. And sometimes I can piss spirits off. And let me try to explain this by being a healer and helping people live their best lives. There's good and bad on the earth, but there's good and bad on the other side. Now, let's just say someone has an attachment to them. And I always talk about it like this, like a physical body can be the host, right? So some spirits kind of attach on. And when I see people go downhill and they become suicidal and they become so depressed, I know that there's an attachment. And so if I'm guided to and someone is brought to me, I will help them remove that. So I did have a scary situation where I was doing some work for a family member who was not in a good place. And, you know, I was doing everything that I could to remove this attachment. And it worked. I had a psychic friend of mine, a healer friend of mine who was really strong, helped me with this. And I believe it was that night or the next night, I was coming down my stairwell. And I might have mentioned this in another episode, but I didn't really explain what had happened. But I was coming down the stairs and I was on my phone and it was dark. And I saw this dark shadow behind me. And Mark, I can't explain it exactly, but it was that icky feeling that came over me instantaneously. It was like, ugh, my stomach hurt. And I saw the shadow and I could feel someone just like throw me. And I know that sounds really weird, but I went up in the air so high that when I came down, I cracked my back on the stairs and I actually broke my tailbone.
Oh my
So,
God.
yeah. And I crawled into my healing room, literally like sobbing. And, Nick was going to call an ambulance because I was going to vomit. Like I've had two kids and I've never had pain like that. And I knew, freaking knew what it was. It wasn't me being accident prone, because I have a tendency to be accident prone too, but it wasn't that. I had pissed off the spirit that was attached to the host. And because we removed it and they were no longer allowed to use that body, that vessel, they were pissed off and they came in and showed me. And it was in that moment, I remember thinking, holy shit, I don't know if I could do this work anymore. Like it freaked me out. I can't say it didn't. I'm a medium and I talk to spirits and stuff all the time, but that was like a whole other freaking level of stuff. Like, and
That
I,
shit you see in the movies. Oh my God.
it is the
Keep
shit
going.
you
This is
see in
so,
the
this
movie.
is, I'm so sorry that, you know, your injury and this moment has sparked my interest so much that I gotta keep hearing more about this. This is crazy.
No, I get it. I mean, it's hard to wrap your head around, you know, and I don't walk around telling everybody that because it's going to, number one, put fear into them, and then they start worrying, oh my God, what can the spirit do to me? This is an extreme case. This isn't something that just happens every day. Like it's not one of those things that can happen to everybody and they're going to take over somebody or hurt them. As a healer, yeah, I mean, I'm in another realm half the time, and they know that. And I basically pissed off the wrong ones, and they wanted to show me that they were mad. And so I felt them. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, and I anybody else could chalk it up to, oh, that was just an accident, or you slipped. And I'm like, hell no! I saw the shadow behind me, and I instantly got that sick feeling, and I knew.
I truly believe you also know the difference between slipping and something else.
Oh
You would
yeah,
know.
no, I got thrown into the air. So
That's
that was
that's crazy. I almost swore there.
crazy.
That's crazy. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, after it happened, and by the way, I healed that broken tailbone in 3 weeks through Archangel Raphael working with me. And I wasn't able to be down that long. I mean, I work a lot. I'm a mom. I couldn't be down. I was bedridden for a week and I went into a pity party. And then Spirit showed me, come on, Karina, pick yourself back up. And I knew what to do. So I healed it within 3 weeks. And doctors just found that crazy. But it was a crazy lesson. And if I wasn't strong in my feelings of why I do this work, I maybe would have quit, really, because that might have scared the shit out of me to the point that I would have said, hell no, I'm done. No more mediumship, no more healing people. But,
But who could blame you for that?
right. Yeah,
Seriously.
it's pretty,
Oh my
pretty messed
God.
up. It was pretty messed up. But, it taught me a lot as well. It taught me that this work is very serious. It is a serious job. And there's so many things that I can't explain to other people. Like even to Nick, I can't explain that I go through things like that all the time. And maybe not to that degree, but a lot of things that I deal with that I can never explain to anyone else unless you do this line of work. And it's hard, but nothing was as freaky as that day. And but I wouldn't change it, Mark. I wouldn't freaking change it because it saved the person that I loved. And it was worth it. That's the best way I can
I just got
explain it.
goosebumps all over me again. Yeah, nah, thank you for having the courage to move on. Because I can promise you, if you didn't have the courage to move on that day, you would have never changed my life. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Um, what would you say is, let's talk about something a little more positive here. What would you say is the most rewarding aspect of being a medium?
Oh my goodness. I could go on and on and on about that. And that's again going through something so scary. It wasn't going to stop me from doing what I'm so passionate about, because having the ability to channel someone's child that's passed or their spouse that they cherished and loved, to be able to hear them validate it and prove that it's them, there's no greater feeling than that. And I would say that I've had so many incredible experiences that I could probably write a book about it and why it keeps me doing this work. And with such specific details, how can that not be rewarding on the deepest possible level?
Oh my God. Wow. And I know from firsthand from you having a session with my wife about her mom who had passed and what you did for us here and how you pretty much gave me my wife back. So Yeah, I can understand. Wow, unbelievable.
I
Yeah,
have lots. I wish I could write a book about it all. And maybe someday I will,
yeah.
but hence why I
I,
have the
I
podcast to share it.
I would definitely read it, that's for sure.
Awesome.
Um, all right, when was the first time that you realized that you could communicate with spirit? Like what was like not just through sight, through
hmm
verbal
Hearing them.
communication. Yeah.
Um, well, I don't know if I've actually shared this part of the story on the podcast, but I did share the part where I had gone, I can't remember what episode it was, where I had gone to the Banff Springs Hotel and had a massage and I was seeing spirit the whole time. But what I didn't mention, I don't believe, is that the night before I was with a friend of mine and we went to this hotel and I had gotten this new deck and it was the Talking to Heaven deck. And, I was new to all of this, so I didn't really understand how to use it or what it could do. And I remember we went out to supper and then we got back to the hotel and we were in our pajamas. And I said, oh, let's, try these cards. Let's see what happens. And I shuffled the cards and these cards fell out. And I didn't really understand the meaning. But what happened was I started to get flashes of this young male, the whole outfit, the shoes. I still to this day remember what shoes he was wearing, the color of his jeans, what brand they were, the shirt that he wore, and the house that he had lived in. And I sat there going, I see this guy. Oh my God, am I going crazy? And now I knew this girl quite well, but I didn't know that she had had a half sibling who had committed suicide. And she just starts sobbing. Like I'm talking, bawling her eyes out. And I'm like, oh my God, what? What? And she's like, how did you know? And I said, I don't know. I just keep getting flashes of him. And she's like, Karina, I've never told you this, but that's my half brother. And I just couldn't talk about it because it was so tragic. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I could see him. And then I went to the hotel the next day. And that's when I was laying on the massage table and this spirit kept bugging me for the whole 60 minutes. And it ended up being the therapist's grandmother. And I think those were the two incredible moments that had happened that were like, okay, I can see them. But then after that, I kind of started questioning it. Like maybe I was making it up. Like, because that's what your ego does, right? Is you start to almost like overanalyze it. And then I ended up doing maybe about a week later a reading for this lady in Texas. And I was on the phone with her. And I'll never forget this. I was laying in this lounge chair in my living room, just doing the reading. And I just kept seeing this guy pacing in my kitchen, back and forth. Like he was like almost anxious. And I started to see him so clearly, Mark. Like I was like, oh my God, he's got blonde hair. This is what he's wearing. And I started to just think like, okay, either I'm losing my shit or there is a spirit here that wants to communicate with this lady. So I finally said to her, I'm like, look, please don't think I'm crazy, but I keep seeing this young male and he looks like this and described every little detail about his face. And she just again started sobbing and said, that's my son who's passed. And I sat there going, oh my God, so this is real. This is actually happening. And then I could hear him. And he gave me all of this validation that proved that he was indeed her son. And from there, that's when this started to happen. And I stopped questioning. I was like, oh my God, I can hear them loud and clear and I can see them. Like I could see them so clearly. It's crazy, Mark. I don't
Did,
know.
did you ever feel like checking into a hospital?
Yep. Yep. I'm sure Nick thought the same. Probably like, should we get you some help? um,
Well,
yeah, of course. I mean, of course you're gonna think you're crazy.
yeah, for sure. I mean, let's call it what it is, right? I mean, you start a path that I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, was probably before the internet that you started to see and hear and different things like that. So you probably didn't have much education towards it, I would say. So
Right.
how do you say to yourself that you're not crazy? Really? No, I'm being dead serious about that because everybody around you would be saying, well, what do you mean, Karina? You're crazy. You're no, people don't see that. That's not right.
Well, that's what happened to me when I was a kid. I grew up in an old haunted house. And so I would go to my parents and say, there was this guy at the end of my bed and he was staring at me, or this woman was touching my back in the middle of the night and I could see them. And my parents told me I was crazy, that I was imagining it. So that's what I was told. And so, of course, I didn't dive into this world until, 20 years later because I was so afraid that I was nuts. And I'm like, what? Nobody else sees this shit? Nobody else is in that, are you guys with me here or not? Like, nobody else was seeing it. And I did believe I was crazy. So when this all opened up, that was my first fear was, am I nuts? Like what is going on? But to be able to validate it for someone else was like, oh my God, I'm not just crazy. It's for them. It's their loved one. That made it easier for me to pursue this. Now, if I had just seen all this stuff and I was like, okay, it doesn't mean anything, and I would have for sure probably thought I was crazy. Like, for sure, Mark. Like, okay, maybe I'm not. But to have someone validate it back and say, no, that's in fact my loved one, that to me was the proof that I needed that this was real.
Wow, that's incredible. Just incredible. No, good for you for being able to, go to the other side sort of idea of the box, get outside the box and think for yourself and have your own free will to say, you know what, this is what it is. And yeah, I'm okay with it. Good for you. Good for you.
I had to.
Yeah, they didn't make it easy for you not to, did they?
Oh no, I didn't have it easy in the beginning. That's why I'm a teacher, because I went through hell and back to be able to help all of you guys as students to not go through this shit. Yeah. Yeah, it was hard.
It's, well, I don't know what I would have done as a kid going through that, to be honest with you. I'll be honest with you, I can't even remember if I had imaginary friends or anything like that. I don't remember any of that stuff, to be honest with you. I
Hmm.
actually asked my parents about it there the other day, and they couldn't even remember. So who knows?
Yeah. And I don't even remember if I had an imaginary friend when I was young, but I do know when I got to about 9 years old that boy, they were bugging me. They would just stand at the end of my bed and stare at me and they would touch my back and pull on my toes and things like that. I hated it. Like,
Yeah, that's not
yeah,
creepy at all.
no, not at all. It's like out of a horror movie right there. And that's why
Right.
I was terrified. So yeah, I'm
Oh my
surprised I'm even
goodness.
a medium today because of that's how fearful I was back then. Seriously.
But it's great that you can laugh about it now, right? That you've
I
gone
have to laugh.
through, right? No, it's fantastic though. I don't know, it makes it more authentic. It makes it more real. It's like I understand that there's spirit out there. I get it. I mean, I've had the blind faith in it very easily. I don't know why I have it so easily, but I do. It's I just, we're all vibration, we're all part of spirit. We're all together. We're all together in this world and the other, right? We're all
Yes.
connected somehow. And that's something I've been learning over the last little while myself. But anyway, moving on, what can you say to someone who has the gift of mediumship and is struggling to find a balance in life?
Ooh, I guess to make sure that self-care is number one because you're no good to anybody unless you take care of yourself. And that's something I learned the hard way. Again, I put everybody first and I forgot that I needed to take care of my energy, my mental health, my rest. Like I was exhausted all the time. And I think knowing that self-care is crucial. You can't do this work unless you take care of your own being. So that would probably be the best advice I could give is to make sure that self-care is on the top of the list and then dive into being of service to others because then you just have so much more to give.
Great answer. One thing you've taught me over the last little while is to protect your energy.
Mm-hmm.
What is the importance of protecting your energy?
Well, I always say, right, like the good and the bad, both sides. You don't want to tap into something that isn't high vibrational. And that's a risk that you can take if you just start opening up and you're not prepared and you're not spiritually protected. I know there's some people that will argue spiritual protection, but I have learned firsthand that it's crucial. And not only doing this kind of work, spiritual protection is important for people every day, your children, your loved ones. If we go out into the world and we don't have that shield around us, we're susceptible to all and any energy. So I could be happy that day, go out to a mall, and I'm not protected, and I come home and I could sink into depression, anxiety. I could feel sick to my stomach. I mean, there's so many negative things that can come along with that. And I'm not saying that that's for everybody. Well, no, I'm saying it's for everybody. Really, I just think some of us are more sensitive than others. So people like you and I who are empaths, we really have people latch on to us quite easily. And it's like someone drowning, right? If you go out and someone's drowning, you've got to make sure that you're wearing, your life vest or your, what do you call it? Life jacket first, because if you don't, they're going to try to bring you down, right? They're going to try to sink you with them, not intentionally, but it's just people are going through hard times. And if we go out without having that spiritual protection around us, we're going to attach to everything out there. And that's just icky, right? So spiritual protection is really crucial. I mean, I have a whole episode, if anybody wants to listen to it, about it called The Importance of Spiritual Protection. And I share some very real stories in there about my kids and why it's important. And it works.
I've listened to that episode, and it's a great episode for people to listen to. I think it's a very educational episode, that's for sure. How did you overcome the fear of not knowing if the spirits you communicated with were of a compassionate, positive entity of energy or a negative entity of energy?
I believe that faith was the only way to go. I had to believe that I was always surrounded with a beautiful bubble of white light, that my guides wouldn't let them in. And I can't say that I haven't experienced the good and the bad in the spirit world. I have, as I talked about that experience with the stairs. But I always do this work knowing that my spirit guides will always keep energies like that out of my protective bubble of light so I can just channel. So there's a couple of photos if you scroll back on my Instagram that are, maybe from last year, where I show that there's this beautiful white light over the top of my head. Like it's like a beam of light that goes over me. That's the channel that I stay in. So when I'm in there, I don't fear that there's anything that's going to come into that light, if that makes sense. My guides are like my protectors. They will block all of that out, and I just channel energies of the greatest and highest of good.
Wonderful, wonderful answer. Yeah, actually, I just it sparked up a question for me here that it's a little bit off topic, but I'm going to ask it anyway. When I was taking your Reiki class with you, I could see your aura. Your aura was very yellow and gold. It was so beautiful. And since that moment, I've never seen another aura. Why is that?
Good point. I have had so many students and even some clients at group readings say, "Oh my God, I see this big yellow light over your head." And you're not the only one that's seen that yellow gold light. Like it's apparently this color that's around me. I can't see it, but this is what has been told to me.
It's there.
I don't know. That's what people say, but I don't know. But I would say that you probably saw it during that class because you were just opening up. And it's like a sign of trust in a way, right? Like if you're looking at me going, can I trust this human with my energetic being? Like, can I trust her to teach me? Is this accurate? Is this right? It was probably a sign that you're seeing this to be like, okay, yes, this person maybe has a good energy around them. I hope that's what people feel around me.
Well, I can promise you they do. I know from the first day that I've listened to your podcast or even talked to you, there's been just nothing but ultimate trust there. Like like I said to you before, here's my car keys, here's my house. See you later.
Yeah.
I'll be back in a couple weeks. Right? It's full trust by any means. It's incredible the energy that I can feel from you. There's very few and far between that, and anybody else has that type of energy. I can definitely say that with honesty. It's something you've worked at though.
Hmm. Yeah, I would say I've worked really hard at having, a good energy that's, within my soul, because there's so many moments that I hated who I was, right? And hated my being to the core. And that's not healthy. I needed to work on healing my life and healing my perception of myself. And that, I think, is what I'm now exuding. I hope, at least, because I've worked really damn hard at it, to be the best version of myself.
Great answer. Let's talk about grounding a little bit here. How do you ground yourself after connecting with spirit? Um, I know for myself, like, especially during my Reiki course with you, there were moments where I definitely wasn't grounded. I was floating, and again, it felt like I was drunk. Not intoxicated drunk, but just that whole like feeling of just not being inside your body. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's your mind's eye that's doing the thinking and the traveling, and you're not really connected with your brain per se, but you are. It's a very weird experience,
Well,
and
it
you
is.
taught me you taught me to ground myself in those moments.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit. What's the importance of doing that?
Well, if we're not grounded, we're basically out of body. We're having, like, it's almost like having your soul disconnected out of your body, like a tether, and the balloon's out there floating. We got to bring it back in. And I think grounding is so important to bring our souls back into the physical body that we're in. And I'm guilty of being spacey. Let's be clear, Mark. Like, everybody that knows me, all of my friends, they know that I can be quite spacey sometimes and very forgetful, but I've got so many things happening in my brain all at once. I'm speaking and hearing at the same time when I'm doing a reading. And so it's like, multitasking at the highest degree. It's crazy. And so when I'm in that energy and I come out of that at the end of my day, because I'm in that all day, right? Like, I can't just go in and I can go in and out, but I'm in that energy all day for doing this work so much that at the end of my day, I will either take a shower to wash off the energy from me. I will walk barefoot in the grass if I can, a couple months of the year here in Canada. I will sometimes just sit in my healing room and focus on bringing myself back so that I am not floating around out there in the other realm, because it's easy to. It feels like, you're right, drunk, spacey. I mean, that's a good way to describe it, I suppose, because you're just out of sorts. And it's a magical feeling. My cheeks get really red. Anyone's ever watched me channel, my cheeks get quite red. And I have energy surging through me that's so warm. So at the end of it, when I'm trying to disconnect, I will sit for 30 seconds, a minute, and just go, take a deep breath. And I'm like ready to go. And I bring myself back to just being Karina, not Karina the medium. Because otherwise I'm going to be out to lunch all day. And I can't do that. It's, grounding's so important.
No, you taught me that through my awakening. Yeah, that's I I don't know how to explain this, but I went from feeling very intelligent to feeling very dumb during my awakening, and I mean
Mm-hmm.
that by just not remembering anything. I
Yeah.
I I couldn't I couldn't remember. I couldn't focus. I couldn't. It was almost like I was just going backwards in my mental capacities, and it was very scary.
Yeah. No, I get
It
that.
wasn't fun. It wasn't fun at all. And anybody thinks that that's fun, I gotta
No.
please come and talk to me about that, because that was a scary moment in my life, to be honest with you. I didn't know where I was heading and what was going on. So
Mm-hmm.
that's yeah, that floating
Feeling.
tether that you
Yeah.
mentioned, that feeling is not fun at all by any means. And I know grounding is very important,
Yeah.
and I probably do it daily now, and it's really good. I actually use a grounding mat when I sleep,
Yes. Grounding sheets,
which
grounding mats are
yeah,
amazing.
it helps out a lot, and it also makes your body feel better too, right?
It
So
does.
the
Mm-hmm.
importance of grounding, I think, is up there as high as anything else for sure.
One of the other things that I love to do to ground myself is go to the beach, go to the water. And I know I can't do that every day, and I don't live near an ocean or anything, but that's why I disconnect and go at least 3 times a year to the beach, where I walk on the sand and I go in the ocean and I just do a full body cleanse. And that is a deeper form of grounding for me. And so that's really important. that's why if I can't get to the beach or I can't get to the water, I take showers because I just wash and scrub off everybody's energy off of me and I bring myself back into my soul. And then I can be creative wife and mom instead of floating out there in the other realm all day.
Oh, I have to agree with you about water. There is something definitely incredible about water. And I don't know why I've always been drawn to it, but every time I've been injured or something going on with my life that's negative, I've always either gone swimming or had a shower or done something that, and it's always brought me back to, oh, okay, I got this.
Yes.
Right? Like that it straightens your mindset out instead of, dropping into the fears or, going into the pity party or something like that. You just have the shower. I find it cleanses you so you can start to think properly again. Would you say you get more support from your spirit guides the more you love?
Of course, if you think that you're doing something that, I mean, I have a really large spirit team. I've seen them. And when you are a teacher and a healer and a medium and stuff, you do have a bit of a larger team because we have big work sometimes to do. And I do feel that every time I am loving, that I'm giving love, that the guides are bringing more people to me. That's how it works. Because people ask me, "How are you so successful?" And I'm like, it's not about success. It's about being selfless and being of service to others. And that is all with a pure want for loving this world. And if you have that within your soul, your guides will come in and always be right by your side, ready to bring more people to you to keep helping and helping and helping. So they definitely come around a lot because I work a lot and they know my intentions of why I do this.
Oh man, please keep spreading that. I love it. I just love it. What advice would you give to someone who is just starting to develop their mediumship abilities?
Well, I have a lot of advice, I suppose. Just kidding. Um, I think that the most important thing is to trust in spirit, trust in something that you can't see but you can feel, and not giving up. Because I think the ego will come in and try to veer you off the path, and you start to question your sanity. You start to question if what you're seeing and feeling is real, and it's easy to give up. It's easy to go into that place of fear. And if you can stay full of faith, knowing that you're meant to do this and your guides will be by your side every step of the way, this work is so rewarding and it's so incredible. And I'm only one person, and I love that there's so many people opening up to their abilities right now. The problem is that a lot of people are struggling with trusting, right? Trusting the messages, trusting that it's real, trusting that they can communicate. If you're going into this and this is what you are called to do, if you have full faith that your guides will walk you through every step, you're golden. You're good.
I love that answer. That's fantastic. In the beginning of someone starting their mediumship abilities or starting to learn about it, how important is it for them to be wrong?
Ooh, I think the best mediums can admit when they are wrong or they don't understand something. It is like playing charades with the other side. Do I understand 100% what that spirit's trying to tell me? No, it's confusing sometimes. And I'll turn to my client and say, I don't understand it. Or maybe I was wrong about that. Maybe I'm not getting it right. And then I just have to push that aside and then keep going. So I think it's important that we do admit when we're wrong or we don't understand something, because I don't know anybody again in this world who does their job 150% accurate every single time.
That makes sense. Yes. Yes, it does. So the importance of being wrong is a way that it almost grounds yourself a little bit to say, you know what, I am still human. These are
Yes.
just messages. I am
Yes.
exactly what we call this, a medium between spirit and human, to say that I'm just the messenger and that's it.
Yeah. I think that's it. If you can say that and you can feel in your soul that you're going to do your absolute best, are you going to get it 100% every single time? Maybe, maybe not.
It's a good way of putting your ego aside, right?
Yep.
Admitting to the errors and saying, you know what? No, I can be wrong. It's fine. I
Yeah.
love that. That brings the authentic medium to table, right? I just love that. I know you remind us that every time in our class, in our mediumship classes at the beginning, it's okay to be wrong. You're going to be wrong. I was wrong a lot, many, many times. And yet, once again, I needed that. That is another one of those moments where it's just such a great reminder that being wrong is actually a benefit. It's a positive, not a negative.
Yeah. Very
I,
true,
I
Mark.
yeah, I just love that. That's so incredible. How do you, okay, so when you connect with spirit, you mentioned earlier that, you have group sessions, you have different things. So you're doing, and I'm sure you have clients all day long, sort of maybe three, four, or five appointments in a day. Is it draining? Are you tired? Like, does it drain your energy? And how do you maintain that energy when you need to keep going?
It can be draining. I wouldn't say it's draining all of the time. There are times where it's actually charging. I feel
Oh,
like I could run a marathon some days, especially when I do groups at the end of the day. I'm wired. I've got that energy that's like almost too much energy. And then I find I can't sleep. And then the next day is when I find that it hits me and I might feel a bit drained. And there's some, yeah, I do three, four, five people a day, depending on my days. And most of the time, it's not draining to me. It's not exhausting unless it's something really tragic, because then when it's really tragic, then I hurt alongside the person and then I'm giving up a lot of my energy with them in that moment. If that makes sense. So I find that that can be draining, but the
yeah,
majority of the time, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, yeah, that definitely makes sense for sure. I mean, a tragic moment would drain almost anybody.
Well, because I'm crying alongside somebody, and I try definitely not to cry with my clients because I have to keep my stuff together. If it's a child that someone's lost, I'm a mom, so it hurts me as well as them. And so I cry with them sometimes. So that part can be really draining because it takes a lot out of my soul. And when I feel like I'm working too much, because I'm known to do that, Mark, I know that some of my students give me crap for that because I don't take care of myself as often as I should. But I find that when I am exhausted to the point where I need to recharge, I will take a couple of days off to just breathe and do something with my family, do something that makes me happy. And then I can come back and do it again.
Oh, that's great. Um, let's see here. Have you ever had any clients worry about booking an appointment and not having their loved ones show up or come up during their sessions?
All the time. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times people will say to me, I'm booking this appointment. What if my loved one isn't going to be there? And I will instantly say to them, look, if you booked the appointment with me, this is not your doing. Someone on the other side decided that they wanted to communicate with you and they helped you find me
That makes sense. So basically, what you're telling me is that all loved ones can reach out from the other side.
at any time,
Uh,
like as soon as they cross.
have
Mhm.
you ever met anybody that where you looked at them and went, whoa, 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 hang on a second here. There is such a strong connection that there's something really weird about this.
Yes. And two of them were really, really strong. One was Durek, my Reiki master, and the other one, which only happened to me a year ago, was actually the indigenous medium, Sean Leonard. I remember going to sit with him or sit during a show that he was doing here in Calgary while he was channeling spirit. And I just couldn't explain it. It was like, oh my God, I know this person. And there's a whole episode we did together. I brought him on the podcast, and goodness, he agreed to be a guest. And we explained the story that of how we met, and it's incredible. There was a recognition of souls. We were meant to be friends in this life because we've known each other before, for sure. It was
Wow.
really
That
strong
that is just incredible. But you feel it. You literally feel it, right?
on
That's
every possible level. Yes, absolutely.
that.
Even when I went to hug him at the end, because we got to meet him and he put his arm around my waist and I put mine around his. And it was like this recognition of souls, like a puzzle piece that would just fit. And I mean, that might sound a little bit wonky and crazy, but it was like coming home, if that makes sense. I knew him from somewhere. And then our story unfolded and we became friends. And it was one of those moments of comfort maybe for me. I felt like I don't know how to explain it even with him. It was meeting him and knowing him. It was a sense of safety. And I don't feel that with a lot of men. And that's something I actually told Sean was I can't explain it to you, but I trust you like I can't trust another man besides my husband. And that's how I trusted Durek. And I had mentioned to Sean that he reminded me so much of my Reiki master because those two, I would say I could fully trust with my soul to keep me safe, if that makes sense. I hope I'm getting
Yes,
that
it
right.
does.
But
Absolutely, it does. 100%. 100%. Okay. Dealing with death, because obviously you deal with death almost every day.
yes,
And I'm sure there's a lot of regrets people have.
yes.
What are the most common regrets that you hear from
Spirit.
spirit from the other side? Yeah. What are they mostly sorry for or regret when they're giving your messages to the people that are still alive here on Earth?
That they would have lived differently, that they wish that they hadn't worked so much, that they wish that they would have traveled more and loved harder and told their loved ones how much they loved them. A lot of spirits have a lot of regret. And really, it has a lot to do with not living life to its fullest. We all think we have more time. We all think we have tomorrow, but none of us know what our exit plan is. So their regrets are I wish I would have lived life to the fullest more. I wish I would have eaten the cake. I wish I would have gotten on that plane and gone across the world to really live. Those are the regrets that I've seen. That's one of the reasons why Nick and I live our lives the way that we do. We indulge in so many things because I know that I don't want to have those regrets when I die. I want to feel like I've done everything that I could to live my best life here.
Do you feel when you pass and you move on, if you're laying on your deathbed and you have no regrets and you did the best you could down here, do you feel that that might be the last time you're reincarnated?
No, I would love to say
No?
yes, but I think our we are supposed to evolve as spirits. And again, I don't have all of those answers. I only have what comes to me as I channel. And I feel like we're always going to need to evolve. We may come back and our karma might not be as heavy and we might not have as many lessons. So maybe we get a life that is enjoyable where we come in and it's not as difficult of a lifetime and we could have a happier life because we have evolved that much. That's the only way I could explain that that's how I see it psychically, energetically, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Wow. Um, Holy geez, I could talk your ear off for many, many decades.
That's okay. I get it. It's
Yeah.
this whole, existence is fascinating when we have a little bit of or a little bit of insight to the other side. It's hard not to be fascinated by it all and want to know everything as much as we can. And that's kind of why I want to say that we are probably going to do a part 3 because I know you had some questions for me about Reiki to help others out there understand what Reiki is, what it does, and how it can help your soul.
Oh, now you're talking about my favorite subject.
Yes. So part 3 is going to come out now. It's just, we're going to have to do that episode because I think a lot of people could really benefit from Reiki and they don't even know it. So let's help everybody understand that. And we can do that in part 3. So,
I totally agree with that. I'm looking forward to it. Perfect.
Mark, I really want to thank you so much for taking your time to prepare all of these amazing questions. I love this. This is fun for me to be interviewed and answer these questions. And I'm also wanting to thank you all for joining us today on the Divine Messages podcast. This is a really fun thing for me to do. I will continue on as best as I can with providing information about the other side, helping others to understand that the other side is very real and it does exist. If you would like to book a reading with me, I can be reached at www.divinemessages.ca or on Instagram at divinemessages333 or at the Divine Messages Podcast. Please bear in mind that the perspectives and opinions represented in this podcast are based solely on the Divine Messages interpretation. We can in no way be held responsible for the actions of our followers.